Although the original video was damaged, an extensive recovery process allowed us to restore it to a condition we could share. We are grateful to finally bring you episode 13, the third part of our interview with Jeremy and Lacey Combs.
Bob and weave, bob and weave. And you gotta take those things that you learned in the streets, and you gotta bring them to the church sometimes. You got to put that hood in it sometimes.
You gotta put that hood in your holy.
Episode 13 is longer than our usual releases, but the depth and format of the conversation made it important to share as one complete episode rather than divide it into separate releases.
I'm like, God, I'm not worthy enough.
Oh, don't you dare.
No, but that's how I
know.
That's how I feel. I honestly feel like I was not worthy enough to be your friend. Because what in the world could I offer?
Oh my God.
What could I offer you that would heal this place in you? That's
real.
We get angry sometimes. You can ask Tony. I would come home from church and I would get angry sometimes because I'm like, people just say things so flippantly. And they don't stop and think about the weight of what they're saying or the impact in somebody's life. And so there were times when I would just be so angry, but that's truly how I felt. Like I didn't feel like that I was worthy enough to be the friend that you needed. But I'm so thankful that that he has allowed that, and that sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's it's whatever. We're just gonna bob and weave through it, bob and weave, bob and weave. And you gotta take those things that you learned in the streets, and you gotta bring them to the church sometimes. You got to put that hood in it sometimes.
You gotta put that hood in your holy.
Because when you've walked through things that we've walked through in life, and I know some of ours are similar and some are a lot different,
right?
But your rawness and the in your face, and I'm not scared to tell you exactly what you need to hear, and you knew you were being backed by the Holy Spirit in it, and that I wasn't going to come at you sideways because you said something that may offend me in that moment. But your truth and the realness in a lot of the things that you've said to me are why the friendship has to stay.
Yes.
Because some people need that.
Yeah.
I don't need somebody patting my back and telling me it's going to be okay. I need somebody to tell me, you need to get up and stop. Because you know this isn't of God. You need to quit.
Right.
Kind of like
and you were able to do that. But you did it with love. And you did it even in some parts of my life, you did it in the non-understanding. I don't understand this part of your life. I don't understand why these things happen, but I understand the Holy Spirit. And that speaks a lot more than you know it does.
Kind of goes back to that grip being stronger than the track record.
Yeah.
Right. Not letting go. Y'all haven't let go.
Well, no, because I was that puny little girl holding on for dear life, trying to find air to breathe.
You've been able to look past. I mean, it's like there's nothing there. It's just that y'all are able to see each other for something different than what you've
when
been
you're
through.
sitting in let me just break that down. When you're sitting in a complete turmoil, and what I was going through, and the first time we sat down at a dinner table, it was some little cafe. I don't even remember. It was in Bryan College Station. I do remember that.
Yeah, we had just left Steel Creek.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, that's right.
And I mean, yeah, we
it was the
had
next morning.
Yes, we had a little bit of friendship, but it didn't matter how much I poured out. The angry part of that, the hurt, the lost, every what do you call it? Every feeling and emotion of that. You sat. You never got up and walked away. You never said this is too much. You never said, well, I don't understand. We're just going to move to the next thing.
But is that something that you encountered a lot, though? Because, to me, that sounds like, who would do that? Like, who would just get up and walk away and say, this is too much for me, or this friendship's too much for me, or you've gone through way too much. I can't sit with you in this. Like, so to me, that just is so. I'm assuming, since you said that had happened, and in my mind, I can't imagine that somebody would be like, what you've gone through is so lack of a better term, horrendous, that I can't sit
Devastating.
in the pain with you. That is mind-blowing to me that someone would say that.
Well, people do. People do. Family do. Family does. I'm talking like way back when. But yeah,
right.
No, they
Right.
do. People do that. And to have realness to stand beside you, and even a brother to just pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm thinking about you, or
Right.
you're not out here on a limb by yourself. Because
Right.
everybody thinks about the mom.
Right,
Everybody thinks about the mom, but they forget about the siblings and the dad.
right.
But even you would be like, hey, how's Jeremy? How are the kids doing? But yes, people do get up and walk away, and they say, this is just too much to deal with. He knows, am I right? People will tell you, this is too much. Oh, and I want to hear about this part of it, but I don't want to hear this part of it.
I don't want to hear the real.
I don't want to see the pictures. I don't want to hear the rawness. I don't want to hear the times that you literally fell on your face and just said, you need to replace me. You need to do something now because I won't make it through this.
No.
Nobody wants to hear those parts.
And that's
But you did.
Yeah.
And you would still sit and listen to it over and
yeah,
over again if I needed you to.
the whole picture.
That's right.
I mean, and it's something that we did learn, like like with Steel Creek, was the fact that we were coming in the middle of their story,
Right.
and I mean, throwing caution
So
to
it
the wind.
hasn't
Like,
always
hey,
been beautiful. There's
it's been and
I'm a
it is,
hard
but
person
but
to
it's
shut up. But I am quick to say I'm sorry.
Yeah, that deal at Steel Creek, I don't know what all God was working through for y'all, but to the audience, Steel Creek is a boarding school for at-risk youth. Mm-hmm. They live there at the ranch in a home setting with home parents.
Yes.
It's a husband and wife. There's usually the boys of a certain ages are grouped together, and younger boys are grouped together. Live there in a home setting, have meals. The objective there is to teach those youth about Jesus, give them an education, and give them work ethic. Well, Jeremy and Lacey went there and were house parents for a year. And it was interesting how all that played out, which is a whole big story. But the fact that y'all had been through everything you'd been through, because we're talking about children from abuse, children from neglect, or children from some other just tough situation. They go there, and for everything that y'all had been through, then y'all are there as house parents trying to lead these young people through that. I know that y'all made some really deep connections with some of the
did.
kids there.
we did.
But I
Those
think
my
that
boys.
there was something that God was trying.
I'll tell you that, too.
Just now hit me. You know how God keeps taking you back to a deal to make you deal with it, and maybe that was part of it. I don't know, but I know that y'all are still kind of unraveling that.
We are. I honestly, when we first went, I was like, she was like, you're crazy.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it.
But I have always had a love for kids. I really have. And I
Yep.
think that's because that stems from my childhood and
Right.
and I say this all the time, the way that my mom wasn't there. Like, I was left to be the adult, or left with my little sisters, with my two older sisters, and just the way that my dad was kind of in and out so much. And I think that's where I stem from, on just the love for kids, the love for that atmosphere, because I want them to know what the love that neither one of us had.
Right.
You can be disciplined without being beat. You can be loved by a mother without being tramped out. You can be I know that
No,
was a
you're
little
good. You're
that was a
good.
little deep,
That's-
but
You're real.
Yeah,
real.
that's
Be
what
real.
That's what it's there for.
I mean,
and being there, and also I thought initially that I was going there for healing from the loss. I really did. I thought, okay, I don't really want to do this, but I love kids, so what are we doing here? And I was the one that was led immediately to that after we had all talked about it, and everybody else was like, what are you doing? Even our family, and which their opinions don't matter much, but I really did, like,
Throwing that out there.
No, I mean, it really was, because they knew, like, we were still broken. I was still broken. And I was like, I'm learning still how to be, and people don't realize in loss like that, you really have to navigate. Like, how am I supposed to be a mom to even our 3 biological kids after something like that? Because now I'm scared. I don't want to get that close to them. I don't want to be overboard because if I do and something happens, it's going to hurt me worse than this is. You know, it's that reality, the fear and survival. And so I went into it, I thought I was pretty closed off and I was just going to be that parent, but absolutely not. I mean, those boys, when you walk into something like that and you're sitting and you realize, and you're so guarded, so guarded,
Yes.
and you realize, okay, they have been through A, B, and C by a female, but they want nothing to do. They're all about the male in the home at the time, and some weren't. And some it was opposites. And then all of a sudden, halfway through, their guard is just broken, and they have a bad day at school, or their parent calls and upsets them, and they want you. They don't want these people that have been there in their lives the whole time that they've been there. The people they know, like without a doubt, they can go and trust. But God lets you see that little glimpse of you weren't at fault for this, and you're okay, and this child loves you, and now they need you. And I need for you to let that guard down because you're going to show them to let theirs down a little more. I can't even put it into words. But even now, we have been gone for almost 2 years.
Wow, has it been that long?
Or maybe
Already.
a year.
Pretty close.
No, it has been a year. It's a year.
Okay.
This month in just a couple of days.
Has it been?
But we have the one that graduated that still reaches out. We have the other one that just graduated that reaches out all the time. I was able to mentor. Still don't know what God's doing in that one because that's still being processed. But one of the girls that was there that happened to leave, that went through a different program, and now God just continues to bring me back to that. You're worthy. You're worthy. You're worthy. You're enough. You're enough. You're enough. And that's something I've struggled with.
Right.
Even before the loss was just not feeling worthy enough because I can't seem to get it together.
Right.
I can't seem to let go of bitterness or just different, I don't know, there's different things to navigate through, and I'm still trying to learn how because I wasn't raised in church. I mean, I got to go to church with aunts and uncles, but when you left, the aunt was in the back seat and you were in the front with the uncle that let his hands roam. I mean, that's not the kind of church you should be raised in.
Right.
So I wasn't really, I didn't have the background Jeremy had. I didn't have the church life, and the church life I did have was play in church. So
Well-
I'm still navigating and learning how to be a godly mom, a godly wife, a godly everything. I don't really know. I mean, but I think God has really showed up in a lot of ways. So,
Absolutely.
Well, I say we were kind of taught to play church, but it wasn't later on in our lives that we were actually learning how to be
The church.
the church.
Right.
And when you get set free from the whole religious aspect of Christianity,
Yeah.
because being a Christian, it's not a religion. It's a
It's a lifestyle.
it's a
Relationship.
relationship
Right.
with Jesus.
It's relationship.
Right.
And
so
intimacy.
they push so much religion, and they wonder why the church is so jacked up. I'm sorry, I got to speak that. I can't help it.
right
I mean,
there.
that's kind of one of the biggest problems of the world now is just so much religion has pushed so many folk out in the streets, and everybody's like, no, you got to do it this way. Jesus said, just believe in me.
Right.
Just let me in your life. Let me take over.
Right. Surrender.
Yes, surrender.
Right.
Give her.
We have a hard time surrendering.
That's all you need.
sometimes, Right.
Yeah.
But that goes back to what I said earlier. We take the simplicity out of it. We make it so hard.
Yep.
Yeah.
And make it so complicated.
Yeah, when you said that, I felt
And
it just
it's
like
just
slap me
like,
again.
That's not what. Yes, we live in this earth, and we're going to have
Yes.
to overcome things, and we're going to go through things that we wish we would never have to go through, and we're going to have to feel things we wish we would never have to feel. But nonetheless, He is still there with us, and it should be just as simple as taking His hand and walking with Him.
Yeah.
Through this, and that's something that I'm learning because of the way that I grew up
Right.
is, learning grace and learning how to have that relationship with Him that doesn't have the boundaries that everybody says that it had to have.
Yeah, what, talking about church, and I'm going to unpack some stuff. Jeremy and Lacey went through a really tough time. They lost a child, and that's the heavy loss that they're talking about. And, for them to come through that, and we may not get to that today. That's part of the onion.
No, you're good.
That's part of the onion. But what just triggered for me was you made a statement just now that you're on your way to church and you're in the back seat with an uncle, right? Mm-hmm. That's his hands.
Handsy.
So I'm thinking that it immediately hit me, you're on your way to church and this is happening. And how does subconsciously you relate that with God or that with church because they're intermingled?
Right.
And I would imagine you were young when that happened. So some of that stuff happens. Then we go fast forward and you suffer that loss. And some of the things that people told you from church were so incredibly hurtful. Mm-hmm. So, and I think that a lot of people deal with that they deal with, we call it church hurt, but you experienced severe trauma.
Yes.
And abuse that commingled with the church, and how you overcome that and unpack that and find your way back to a relationship with Jesus.
Right.
And this just comes to mind too, and then I'm going to shut up and let you talk.
No, you're good.
But it's just like the man that was disabled, couldn't walk, that was leaning against the door, beautiful. That Peter and Andrew, or Peter and John.
Was Peter and his friend?
Yeah, he reached out for alms, and they say, money I have none, but what I do have I give you in the name of Jesus. Stand up and walk. You were leaning against the door, beautiful, the whole time, but you never really experienced that relationship with him until recently, I think, right? And now you have people reaching out and say, I don't have what you need, what you're asking for, but I do have. Stand up and walk. And you're in that stance, in that place right now where you're standing, you're learning how to stand up and walk.
Yes.
And you turn towards him and you're walking through the door now. So I'm going to shut up and I'm going to let y'all unpack that.
Well, the thing about that is I don't relate it to a loss, because the only way you lose something if you don't know where it's at.
Absolutely. I was so glad
But
that you
when
said
you-
that, because I was going to
when
say
you
that
know
too.
where they
But when
are-
you know where they are, you didn't
You didn't lose anything.
Right.
He's at my father's house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
and I expressed that to a lot, even to a couple ladies at. They did this thing for the kids at for children's, and we went to and I just said it, and that was the first time I said that, and I punched myself in the face for it with it, because I'm like, wow, I didn't lose.
I think we all
Because
saw
God don't lose.
Right. You're absolutely right.
And so it's like the thing, and I guess because a lot of me is during the transition and hearing him praying. He's talking to God this whole time, this trip, and this is before,
just break that down. You're in the helicopter.
We're in the
with him
helicopter
en
on the
route
way
to
to-
Children's.
And,
wow.
And so he's praying. He's talking to God, and he's and I and so we're through all this process and pray, and you get this all the time, and when you're going through something like that, there's going to be people that's going to shake your faith.
Yeah.
There's people that you're going to be pulled in so many different directions. Your mind's going to go in so many directions, and I know mine did. I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off. Like I don't understand it. I was trying to brave it, even through doing videos and the whole Bubba Strong page. It didn't really it kicked off by accident because during that time, it's COVID time.
Right.
So
And you're trying to update everybody.
Family wasn't able to come up, so and so it was just me and her.
Not even the siblings.
And we spent all that time. We stayed in the consult room. That's where we stayed, and so during that time we had to update what's going on So we would do a video, and it was just, we did it just so that the family could be able to see it.
Right.
And then before you know it, we have people talking about, man, I'm praying and I've never prayed before.
Wow.
From Africa, from China, from
Yes.
overseas, from
And so, and over 3,500 people. And I don't know what I haven't seen what it is, but, and I know we haven't been on there quite a bit since, but we do actually have people will post stuff on there for the followers to,
Yeah.
you know, like pray for kids and stuff
Yeah,
like
I've
that.
seen that.
But, and so that was just that. I mean, and that was one thing I saw was a prayer movement.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people praying and people coming to God, talking to God like it's never believed. And I mean, there was some that even didn't even believe in God or
Right.
anything. You know, kind of atheist kind of thing.
Right.
But never it. And they reached out and how it changed. And you know, and I hate the fact that it takes a tragedy to really grab a hold of people, you know, and change and get them really thinking about stuff. And we had one, and there was, I know, and you know, and I really believe that God was working on this at that time. We just didn't see it, and He was holding us at a time that we didn't see it or feel it.
Right.
And I know for her, I can't say for her what she was like or what she felt like. I know it for me. I just know where my heart was, and I knew and I knew that I had, no matter what, I had to trust God, that He's in control,
Right.
and I didn't want to fight Him
Absolutely.
because see, I'm still trying to get to where He's going to, and so I'm praying, and one night, it's 3:00 in the morning. I had this vision, and I had this dream, and I woke up, and God told me, He said, I want you to anoint your son. So, man, I didn't have like,
that was because he wouldn't wake up.
because he wouldn't wake up, or he, you know, and
They
so
thought he was.
I went down the road and I went and got what I needed and came back and I had it in my pocket. So I stick my finger down in
Did
there.
you have you some little
olive
oil
he
or
did.
Crisco? Little
It was
Crisco
olive oil.
cans?
Olive
Yeah.
But anyway, so I started. I mean, you know, I just anointed him and started praying and holding his hand and talking to God and we'll see. What you didn't realize, I didn't know at that
I was so
time.
mad.
I was preparing, and then I started thinking about the alabaster jar.
Right.
You know, afterwards, not during this time, but after everything,
After.
He starts revealing these things like the steps, what He did for me, and how He guided me and how He helped me. And so, I was anointing him and praying and then that next night, I had a dream that Bubba was and he was running out of his body, and he was running all over the place. I mean, just like just and you have to know Bubba to understand
Right.
Being
him
Bubba.
being bouncing
Yeah.
around but there's an experience. I'm free.
KK.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm free, and then he, and then I had this other vision, and then this dream that he's like, I'm locked, I'm stuck, because he couldn't move, he couldn't, there's no work. And then after that, there was another one that was where he had went and talked to this little boy, and they were trying to call this little boy up. And then Bubba said, no, I'll go in your place. You can go spend some time with your family. And then it was just that next day, that's when we had to go in the room and have a conversation and things went. But, and that was a tough thing for me. But I think the thing that caught me was the day that, and I talked to my pastor, Mark Jones. He's been a mentor for me since '03, and see, he went through kind of the same thing, watching your son just fade away into the arms of Jesus, and so he helped me through a lot of that, like, because I'm like, Lord, and I called him up that night, and I praise God for somebody that's willing to pick up the phone, and no matter what time
no
it
matter
is,
what, right?
and talk to you, and he did. And the thing I love about Pastor Mark is the fact that I'm going to tell you like it is in the most sweetest, gentle way, and I'm going to step on your toes, and it's not even going to hurt
like
you.
Tony.
Yeah.
But he's so gentle with it, but it's truth. But anyway, he helped me, and I was like, I said, I just have this this thing in my spirit that, God give him to me, that I need to give him to him. Mm-hmm. And so I called him up, and he coached me through. He said, he's kind of just following your heart and just listen to what the Holy Spirit's telling you. So we gathered around and praying for him, during this time, and is at that time. Mm-hmm. So we were praying, and it just all of a sudden, that room, and this is being talked about still today, is that room, it got so bright. I mean, it literally looked like the finger of God just came down in that and through that in that room, and then just faded out. Mm-hmm. And for me, I think that's one of the parts where I know that it settled my daddy heart.
Right. Absolutely.
Because the thing as a parent, that's the thing we need to be focused on the most, is making sure they can get to Jesus. That they know Jesus, the love of Jesus, and of Christ, and then witnessing that and seeing that, and then at that moment I'm thinking, did I just see that?
Right.
And then I found out that I wasn't the only one that's seen that. Everybody's seen it other than her. She was, of course, she's mama. She's, you can understand that, where she's at. And even in the kids, they were like they were shocked because of what we just seen. And then just all of a sudden, just the whole room just went silent, just quiet. And the guy that was, he was our ECMO doctor, and he was turned around fake because he was upset. There was a lot of things he was upset. And so he turned and he was looking out the window. And this is a big window. Like the whole thing is just, anyway, he's looking out the window. He said, did it just get bright in here? He said, I felt something. It felt cold, but then it felt hot. And then it was just gone. Mm-hmm. I'm like, but it really did an impact. Like God, right. I mean, Lord, this is why I really fell into God and fell on my face with God, is that, when you really see the power of God and you actually see that move, it changes your whole life of way you see God. And I felt that. I seen that. We seen that. And one lady, she used to be at that moment in time, she was a Buddhist.
Wow.
She's no longer Buddhist.
Wow.
God came in. And I praise God that he was able to show me, that I was able to be able to see. I still don't understand. I'll never understand.
Right.
That's one thing, but I know I've just got to trust God and trust that he has my every best interest at heart.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
I know there's been like up and down times for
yes.
y'all, going through
and there
this
is.
where there's times that, y'all are probably not on the same page, and then there's times that y'all are, and there's times that you're on the mountain, and there's times that you're in the valley dealing with that. But it sounds like when you need it, he's given you encouragement. My grace is sufficient. And so he comes in at the right time and gives you that hope or that remembrance of things like that to keep you pushing forward.
Well, and that's the thing, we never prepare for it, and I've had those, and especially with kids kids it's I'm telling you, there's no word to explain it. You know, you lose your mom and dad, you're an orphan.
Right.
You lose your husband or your wife, you're a widow. There's nothing for a kid, you know, and it's and it's something you just do not prepare yourself for. I don't care how long they've been going through something, you're still not prepared for it. You're not ready for that. But the greatest thing we can do is make sure that they have Jesus.
Right.
Make sure that they're on the right side of Jesus. Make sure that your grandkids know. If somebody doesn't tell them, you tell them. You know, if we're your grandparent or tell them about Jesus.
Absolutely.
Let them know that He is real, and that, you know, that there is a place that you need to try to get to, you know, and that's heaven. And it's not easy. It's really not easy. That cross gets heavy. You know, it does. It does get heavy. It gets very heavy. And there's times we've sat and you know, you get those what ifs.
Right.
And that's the hard ones that hit you, is the what ifs. And then you start getting the anger part. And there was times that I had to just walk away from even family because they would say things like, well, it was just his time, or or that, and those things they hit me like,
right.
No, you know, it's just those little things, and it's the littlest things that would just make you so mad and angry, you know, or you know, it had a couple. It was like, I don't see how you're still talking to God,
Right.
I'm like, you know, and you know, just even though they don't know, but I still had to walk. You know, I still walk away because that's, you know, it's something I can't deal with. I'm not going to mess with that. I mean, I know I got to stay focused on God.
Right.
But
right
that
now,
was then, and now
and-
they can
and now-
ask that question, and we
yes.
can sit and say because,
yes,
and we can give
Right.
an explanation.
Right. And you
But it
grow
took you a
through it.
while to get there.
it does.
5 years in
Thank-
November, yeah.
5 years.
But it's
A
still
long time.
fresh.
Right.
I mean, it's 5 years later, going on 5 years, and it's still fresh. It still feels fresh
To
me.
some, it's fresh. To some, for a dad, it's fresh. For me, it feels like it's been 40 or 50 years since I've seen my son. I mean, that's realistic for me. For him, it's a little more fresh. For the kids, it's still very fresh.
But God has a way of giving you. Sometimes He gives you those little dreams or those little things to make you, you know, to keep you thinking about them. You know, like
If I had to venture
that
to
they're
say,
still.
you went into
alive.
man mode and just, all right, I'm going to put this over here for right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to doing this. And now God's like,
Yeah.
nope, you're going to deal with this.
Yeah.
Where you processed a lot of it at the time. Not to say that you're over that, but
No. But yes,
yeah.
We were.
I processed Jeremy was, in my opinion, he was, I've got to hold her together. And I'm going to back it up even a little more than that, because we both also knew from the beginning where we didn't want to be. Because I have an older sister who suffered child loss with her firstborn son. He was 9 years old, and it was a horrific tractor accident. I won't put names, but their life went to hell in a handbasket. I mean, their marriage ended. The other 3 kids suffered, both parents at some point, and I really don't want to put all their business out there, but at some point, both of the parents had ended up in prison. And I watched what I thought was, I mean, you're talking about a sister that took my place with uncles, that took my place, you know, in so many different ways in life, you know, to make my life better. And to watch her go through that and fall so fast, and don't get me wrong, there is no judgment, absolutely not, because I don't know how many times I've looked and said, I just need to go down that dark rabbit hole because I don't want to feel right now. I don't want to feel, I want to be numb. I don't, cut it off, just stop. Whatever you have to do, make me numb. And unfortunately, I was fortunate enough that I was never surrounded by the things that could make me feel that way. There was never, God put the fear of medicine in me, that I can't take medicine because it's too much, and I'm scared of what it'll do to me. So I didn't have that. Drugs were never okay. Like, I'm so scared of everything like that. So, but
Our
I
families.
watched her. Yeah.
Well,
I
yeah,
watched
you've seen the
her-
effects of those things.
Yeah. So I watched her go through this, and that was something sitting in that consult room after they had told us that before we had to go and tell our kids what was fixing to happen. We had that conversation, and I just told him, I was like, I don't think I can do this. I can't. And he said, we have to, and we're going to, because we're not like everybody else that we've watched go through this. You know, we do have God. And I was at the very beginning stages of my walk with him, and there were so many different emotions. Some of them, there's not even a word for it. But we instilled that into our kids in that room that day also of, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. And you're right, he did. He set it to the side, and it was, I've known the Lord. I know his grace. I know he'll give me strength. And I don't know if God told him, hey, I'm going to give you all this that you need to deal with your family and get them through it. But he did in so many different ways. And even in shielding us when, you know, before we would go places, we had so many, like, he would just say, hey, somebody's going to say this. It was like God was telling him, hey, somebody's going to say this, and you've got to make sure she doesn't grab a hold of it because it's going to turn her real fast. Mm-hmm. So he spent all this time, but while he was doing that, and again, he was in a truck, so he had a lot of alone time, just him and God talking about it. And I don't know all the emotions. He's not a private person with me, but he did keep, and I think God knew he needed to for a little bit. Because if you gave me a little bit in that moment of time that I was trying to get through that part of my life, I would have ran with it real far, and not in a good way. But yes, there is healing. Yes, there is. There's times that there's times that I can talk about it, and there's times that I still can't. There's times that revelation in a word simply will set you off in such a good way. But it's real, it's raw, it's emotional, you never know. And that's where I said my survival. I'm not surviving to breathe. I'm not surviving to love my kids. I'm not surviving to love my husband. I'm not surviving to love myself.
That's the biggest one.
Because I can't go there. But that part is the biggest part, learning to love myself. And that's where I said Still Creek came in really big with those kids, with those boys, because you're worthy. You're not crazy. You're not spiritual enough. Because loving yourself after a blame, and it's not really, a lot of people say that you blame yourself, no, I really don't. Because what happened to him, there's nothing I could have done to stop that. That's a fleshly body. That's a human body. There's nothing I could have done. There's no faster moment. There's no faster medication. There's nothing that I could have done to stop it, or anybody else for that matter. But learning to love again wholeheartedly, and learning to, as a married couple, to say, hey, you seen this, but I didn't. You didn't feel this, but I did. Or you felt this, but I didn't. And to go, and we're still learning that today. I'm just going to throw it out there. You and I were having a conversation in that restaurant the other night, sitting there, and I still don't even remember how we got there. But the word relieved came up. And you told me you don't have to tell him right now. Maybe call him later and tell him after you pray about it.
No,
but
I'm
being
good.
my absolute best friend, like, I needed solace because you remember we said I left. The Holy Spirit said, you don't need to wait, just call him. And I was like, I ain't doing that.
Right.
Sorry. I didn't even make it out of the parking lot, though. And I called him and I said, and it took me from there all the way to my house to get it out. And I just said, hey, we're going to do this thing, but there's things coming out of my mouth that I don't understand. And right now I feel really guilty for what I said. And I don't even, he was just like, okay, spit it out. He's like, it's fine. And again, he said, you're safe.
Right. And that's important.
It is.
To feel safe.
And I know I probably haven't always made him feel safe because, that the side that has to be in your face and just nothing's going to hurt me.
Well,
And nobody's
going
going
to put your safety before you put it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the word relieved came up, and that was so hard but it was realistic, and it wasn't. And so many people can take that and run with it, and that'll just have to be a "I'm in your face now" moment if they decide to run that way. But he didn't, and he understood, and he helped me to break that word down. Of I'm not relieved, good God, that he's not here. I'm relieved that that dream of, Mama, I'm stuck because right now they have me paralyzed and I can't move. That the relief of I'm not suffering, I am running. You would have liked to take me home with prosthetic legs and part of an arm. I was relieved that we didn't have to do that. I was relieved that we, real and raw, we didn't have to wake up every day and go, are they going to have to resuscitate today again?
Yeah.
Am I going to have to stand in there and watch them say, right now he's not breathing again and we're trying? Are we going to have to wake up every day and go, am I going to have to call his brother and his sisters and tell him, hey, I'm really sorry. You didn't even get to come in and say goodbye. But in all of that.
Those are a lot of questions you keep repeating. So
Absolutely.
and see that,
Mother.
and it wasn't until later. And I actually I got into a shouting match. And I'll tell you when this happened. Lane had got sick, and it was strep. We went.
Our kids seem to carry
And
strep.
we had
That's
to go-
another thing. There's a certain strep that our kids
And of
carry.
course, with everything that happened, we had to go right back to the hospital.
Yeah, just to clarify, that's what started the sickness was strep, right?
And
Strep and strep pneumonia.
and found out, and then during this time, we still couldn't, we couldn't go in together with Lane. So I went up on the top of the parking garage where there's nothing there. I'm like, I don't want to be around nobody. I'm already struggling being here. And so that moment, there was nobody up. I don't know if people heard me or not because I was on top of this thing, and I was having a shouting match with God, and I was going back and forth. And I'm like, you could have done this, you could have done that, and I was just angry. I was mad, and then I couldn't, and it was already driving me crazy even being there because where I was sitting, I was looking right at the room. You know what I mean?
His room is pretty
and then
in your face.
And so I'm going through all this stuff, and I'm shouting, and all of a sudden, just like everything just stopped, and he said, "But I did." Just say again, we got to remember God's ways are our ways.
Our ways.
And so that dream that I had of where he was running around everywhere. Okay, I healed him. I did.
Right.
I just did it in my way because we're all on death row.
Yeah.
Some of
Nobody
us
gets out
just,
of here alive.
This
just
body
gotta
is.
go
Yeah.
early.
The body is.
Yeah.
Yes, our body. And so, because, for the wages of death, of sin is death. And so, I can't be mad that I'm hurt that I don't get to hold him. I don't get to see him, but I do. I have dreams. I see him in my dreams a lot. And so it's hard to really, I don't know, I can't put it into words.
Hard to explain.
It is. We don't always understand it, but I just know I got to trust God that He's in control and that He's taking care of me and that He did do what we prayed for. Because see, before Bubba, I went through that with my dad. I spent 3 days. I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. They had to pry me away from the room because my dad, I was praying over him. And guess what? It was the same thing. Got up, and that's when I first got mad. That's when I first got mad, and I really walked, and I was ready to go into the darkest thing I could ever get into because my dad was my everything. My dad was my go-to person for everything because my dad, when talking to Dad, it was like, whatever you talk to Dad about, it stayed between you and Dad. And Dad knew me.
He still loved you through it.
And he loved me through it. And, and he was the first one that accepted Lacey into my family and love her for who she was and rather than what they thought she was or what they wanted her to be.
Right.
Dad was like just, because just the way my dad was. Dad had I guess that's where I get my big heart from my dad. And so, now that I'm not going to have this, I'm going into a panic mode too at the same time as being hurt because now who would I go to?
Right.
And so later on, again, we're having this shouting match, and this was before Bubba. And but I did. I did what you asked me to. I just did it my way.
Yeah.
And And then he's like, and then I'm like, well, who do I do? I'm like, what about me? When I talk about who would I go to, what about me? And so that's where I started learning the thing about having a conversation with God, not just a prayer, but like
Right.
having those
'Cause now you're going to know him
moments.
as a daddy, not just a father.
Exactly.
The intimacy
Yes.
Right.
makes the world of difference.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, thank you for doing that, Jeremy. Another thing too that I think people miss is you had enough wherewithal through all that to know I'm going to have to guard her from what people are going to say,
Yeah.
so that she doesn't take hold of that and root that in her heart. That's huge.
Well,
I don't think people really understand that. It goes back to the power of the words that we speak. And there was so many things that, I think people, they mean well, but the silence a thing, and they want to console, but they don't know how. And then bias and judgment and stuff like that comes out. There's certain people that have been through some things, like, was it Pastor
Pastor Mark Jones.
Mark Jones? So he's been through it.
Yes.
So he can minister to you. I haven't been through it. The best thing I could do is just be there
Yes.
And
But-
listen.
and listen. And I think that silence for people, just they can't
It's uncomfortable.
take it,
Right. It's
and they run from it. But like I said, I commend you for being aware enough in that time as a husband and as a covering to say, honey, there's going to be some things that they're going to say, and we're just not going to accept that, and try to block that out.
Oh
So
no,
you
we're
don't
talking
go
we're
down the
talking
dark.
physical of
Yes.
Yeah.
skirt.
Yeah.
Don't say that to her. And he would. I mean, he would. And there were times where he
That's
would look
time-
at them and go, "I rebuke you. You need to walk away." I mean, it
That's-
was that kind of a, in his own term. And I'm not trying to put him on a pedestal because I still choke him out sometimes. But like in realness, he really did. And even the kids would come home and say, "Well, this person said this about Bubba's death, or this and that, or this is," and we had to shield them too. It's not just about us. I mean, when you go through something like that, you have your entire family is your, and that's where survival of, okay, now I got to be this back in your face again. You're not going to talk to them like that. You're not going to tell them that. You're not going to, you don't walk their walk. You've never walked their walk.
Right.
And it's just and yeah. So, but he was you have to be guarded. You have to be protected, because when I'm not here, you're still here. You're still
Right.
facing it every single day. And he knows if somebody says something, it's not just going to go into my heart or into my mind. I'm going to sit there and play with it for a little bit and go, how can this be twisted? I don't do that, but my brain seems to do that. How can this
Yeah.
be twisted and turned?
Right.
So, and he knows that. So it's definitely, it's a team effort. I mean, I don't know another way to really say that, but
Pastor told me, he did tell me, and that's where he told me, he said, there's going to be certain lines that people say. And he told me those lines. And he's like, and it's going to, he said, it's going to piss
Yeah.
you off.
True.
And it got to that point, and it did. Like, man, he's, and so, and I was letting, and so I was relating that to her too, that, hey, don't listen to these people when they say these things, because they are going to say that thing. And the biggest ones is, well, it's their time.
Yeah.
Or or I'm sorry for a lot. Well, don't be sorry for my lot, because and that's one thing I can't help but to correct
Yeah,
on.
for sure.
Like, I'm sorry for your loss. Well, don't be sorry. I didn't lose anything.
Right.
I didn't lose anything. I know where he's at.
Absolutely.
He's at my father's
and I
house.
can't answer it like
And in
that.
my-
we
and
talked
my-
about that.
I'm
like, what part are you sorry
and I
for?
started seeing that too with my dad, because Dad was very spiritual that way, and then and he really helped me through a lot of it of adversities, and whether even in our marriage, and there was times that he told me, you just need to stop being stupid.
Good sound advice.
I was and I was driving, I was driving over the road, and man, I was running 3 to 4 days on 15 minutes of sleep. So Daddy was pretty,
Yeah.
he was on me, but,
Right.
But yeah, it's just those little things that you just have to kind of take one step at a time with, and
There's no real answer.
there's no real answer
Right.
for any of
It's
it.
just
than
letting the Holy
Jesus.
Spirit
Yeah.
speak to you as a whole and as individuals. And sometimes it's still just not there. Sometimes it's still just not okay. But you
And that's okay
you know
too.
where to lean to
Right.
get
Right.
Exactly.
that from.
Exactly.
Now instead of saying I'm just going to be mad and don't talk to me today and I don't want this person. No, I mean there's so much more rawness into all of that, but that's the gist of it. Is you really have to find your place. You have to find your solace. You have to find that private place with you of an intimacy with the Holy Spirit to say, hey, I'm not okay right now, and this is exactly what I feel, but I know in a minute I'm going to be okay because I know you're going to pick me back up, and that's truth.
Well, yeah, because I mean, that's what he tells us is call on me. Call on me in your times of trouble, and I will hear you.
And sometimes it's the weirdest places. I mean,
And-
it can be having dinner with a friend and you say something you really didn't mean to say, but apparently you needed to say.
Apparently, you did.
It can be having a conversation with your husband and look at him and going, I don't think I can handle that part right now. And he's like, well, we're going to, and I'm right here beside you, but we're gonna handle it right now. We're gonna talk about it.
Right.
So
Some of the littlest things, it can be the biggest testimonies.
Absolutely.
Even the smallest words can be the
100%.
biggest testimony.
Absolutely.
Sometimes just 2 words can just be a whole.
That word,
know?
what was the word? Relief?
I mean,
That's-
I was relieved. And the minute I said it, I choked because I was like, how? And of course, and that's very important. I don't like to give the enemy credit for things always because he doesn't always, it's not always him. Sometimes
Right.
it's us being stupid.
Yeah, and we
you
just
said
give
that.
him too
yeah.
much. Yeah.
We give him too much credit. But in that moment, he tried to play that. How dare you say that about your child? You're glad that he's dead. You're glad that he left you.
But that's not what you said.
But that's not what I said.
right. That is not what you
That's
said.
what-
And I had a
Satan
good
wants to-
friend, and that's where having good relationships and good people. You know, people say I used to be the world's worst. I can do this by myself. I don't need you. I can do this by myself. I'm better by myself. No, because in that before.
That's survival.
Yeah, it is survival.
Yes, before,
That's survival.
but I was the only one protecting me.
Right.
My whole childhood, I had to
Absolutely.
protect
Yeah,
me.
that's
Through our marriage,
survival.
when my family was attacking him and his was attacking me, it was, okay, well, I'm going to take care of myself. You don't want to go against your family? That's fine. I'll bust them up by myself. It
Right.
is survival.
It is.
But I had that good friend sitting there that night and said, but sometimes you ain't got to let him play with it like that. Sometimes, you know, it doesn't take you back to that dark place, and we tend to think that way. But sometimes this is just a breakthrough to get you to somewhere that you need to be.
see,
You need that real, you need that raw, and you can correct me if I said that wrong, because I know I probably left some of it out. But yeah, that word was, and I was
That was what you
scared.
said. I remember because you said, well, now I'm going to go home and I'm going to crawl back into that dark spot.
I sure did.
Because of what I just said. And I said, or you can let it bring you the peace that it was intended to bring. You know, and then I checked on you or whatever. And, but I felt like she was scared when she said it, that she was just really going to beat up on herself and the
I knew
enemy
I
was
was.
going to twist her words. But I just felt such peace when she said that she finally, what had been dwelling on the inside had finally come out, and that it was going to make way for peace and not to bring condemnation and all those things that the enemy tries to bring on us. And I was super proud, and I understood the weight of that word, and I think we talked about that too. I understood the weight of the word relief, because there are some things that you